Hello everyone, welcome to this channel. How was your day? I hope you are doing well. Well, in this section, we will learn about something that some of us are familiar with, narrative text. Have you ever heard the story of Cinderella, Snow White, or Ants and Grasshopper? They are examples of narrative text. So, what is the definition of narrative text? Narrative text is the type of text that tells a chronological story in the past tense. Narrative text tells an imaginative story or a modified true story and is organized through a sequence of events that happened in the past. Talking about texts that tell about the past, surely some of you are thinking about recount text, which is a text retelling a story that happened in the past. Then, what is the difference between narrative text and recount text? The obvious differences between these two texts are conflict and time. In the narrative text, the conflict is explained in detail, but the time of the event is not specific. So, most of them use time captions such as once upon a time. On the other hand, the content of the recount text doesn't present a conflict and only describes the sequence of events that occur in detail. For the time when an event occurs in the recount text is known with certainty. Let's move to the social function of narrative text. The social functions of narrative text include: first, to entertain. Narrative text can be used to tell a story that is simply enjoyable to read. Second, to inform. Narrative text can be used to tell a story that teaches the reader something new. Third, to persuade. Narrative text can be used to tell a story that is designed to convince the reader to believe something or to take action. Now that we know the definition and social function of narrative text, let's look at the type of narrative text.
There are several types of narrative text. First, fairy tales. Fairy tales that are retold from generation to generation and tell stories about fairies, princesses, dragons, elves, and others. The second is mysteries, which is about solving the problem of a mystery. The third is science fiction, which deals with science and technology that exceed reality. Fourth is romance, which is a romantic story between a pair of humans. Fifth, there are horror stories about ghosts or all things scary. Sixth, there are adventure stories that contains adventures in the place. 7. There is a fable whose story characters are animals. 8. There is a folklore, which is divided into myths or myths in society and legend, the origin of a place that cannot be compared. Next, let's look at the structure of the narrative text. There are three parts in the narrative text, namely orientation, complication, and resolution. Orientation contains the introductions of a character, place, and times in the story. Complications contains where the conflict or problem arises and continues to the peak of a problem. Resolutions contains how the conflict of the story is resolved.
Now we move on to the language features. There are some language features used in narrative text. The first one is past tense. This tense is used in narrative text because it tells event in the past. The type of past tense used in this text is not only simple past tense, but can also use past continuous tense, past perfect tense, and so on. Let's see the example of the simple past tense. She went to the forest. And the next example is past continuous tense. She was going to the forest. The next language feature is the adverb of time. This is to show the time of an event with words such as once upon a time, a long time ago, one day, yesterday, etc. The third one is action verbs. We know it as verbs that show action, such as killed, walked, wrote, stayed, that, etc. And the fourth one is time conjunction. Its use aims to sequence the events in the story. For example, when, then, suddenly, before, after, until, as soon as, etc. Furthermore, their character specification, or the use of specific rather than generic story characters. For example, Cinderella, Alibaba, Snow White, etc. In narrative text, there is also the use of adjectives such as beautiful, angry, diligent, and so on.
We already know the definition, social function, structure, and language features of narrative text. Now, let's see an example of narrative text. This is a narrative text titled Malin Kundang. Malin Kundang is a folklore legend from West Sumatra, Indonesia. In this Malin Kundang text, there are 5 paragraphs. Let's divide the paragraphs into 3 parts of the general structure of the narrative text. For the orientation part in the first paragraph, that's because in these paragraphs, there is an introduction to the main character, Malin Kundang, who lives in only with his mother. His father died when he was a baby. This paragraph also describes Malin Kundang's job. For the complication part is found in paragraph 2 until paragraph 4. These paragraphs explain the beginning of the story when Malin Kundang gets a new job, the peak of the problem when Malin Kundang expels his old mother when he returns to his hometown. And the resolution part is in the last paragraph when Malin Kundang's mother was angry and curses Malin Kundang into stone. Next, let's see the language features. First, the use of the adverb of time. The underlined words are examples of this. There are a long time ago, one day, and many years later.
Second, the use of past tense, the sentence a long time ago. In a small village near the beach in West Sumatra lived a woman and her son, Malin Kundang. Using the simple past tense, we can see from the word lived. Next, the sentence Malin Kundang's father had passed away when he was a baby, and he had to live with his mother, using past perfect tense, and many more sentences use the past tense in this text. Next, for the use of adjective, we can say from the underlined word like her, healthy, diligent, strong, and so on. For time conjunction, we can see from the use of when, after years, suddenly, and so on. There are also many action verbs like when, broke, sold, and so on. After saying the structure and language feature, let's talk about moral value from Malin Kundang's text. As we already know, narrative text has many functions. Besides entertaining, we can take moral value from the text of Malin Kundang. I'll talk the truth of this story in not known for sure. Indirectly, the story teaches and invades us not to disobey of five against parents. We must be friendly and loving to our parents. How can we do this? We can help by cleaning the house, say goodbye when leaving the house, speak politely, and there are many more things we can do. So, how is it, guys? Have you understood about narrative text now? That's all the explanations from us about narrative text. Hopefully, this video helped you are learning. Stay healthy and have a nice day. Bye bye.